Okay, let's get right back into the action here. So, Jack 7, table 1, open it up, call. Jack 9 6, this is a board where I really like to mix my play between bet, check, bet, 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 check, and check, bet, bet. I lean a little more towards bet, bet, check, or bet, check, bet, because his fold to flop c-bet is pretty low. It's at 38%, so that makes me like that line a bit more. Let's talk about table 2 for a second here, actually. So table 2, checks down the river, and I face an overbet around 140-ish% pot. So we have to ask ourselves, what are the best hands to call? Well, we want to have hands that do not have a 9 or an 8 or jack, or 5 or a 4, really. All of those cards are bad cards. We do want to have pairs, and we do want to have an ace in our hand. So in these situations, it almost always makes the most sense to call with a hand like ace 6. Also worth mentioning that we're going to want to have some raises here. So we want to make sure to use hands, obviously the 2 pairs, obviously a hand like river set. The question becomes, what are our bluffs? And I think in general we're going to be calling with a 7 here, calling ace 6, which means I think we can use a hand like ace 3 as our bluffs. I think once we get down to the 3x hands, we no longer really have to be calling. So I wouldn't mind seeing call 7x, call a 6x, raise ace 3, raise my value as my overall strategy in this situation. Let's see. Bottom left, pretty tough spot versus normal size bet. I'd fold. I think facing this 1/4 pot bet, given that he doesn't bet the turn that much, I think we have a call in our hands. On the bottom right, I believe it went check, check, flop, check, call, turn. If so, we have a very clear check, call, down. Jack 7 top left, don't really mind betting or checking. Both lines have some merit, so I could see myself going either way with that one. Okay, that kind of sums up everything so far. Pretty skillfully maneuvered my way into it on bottom left. On bottom right, he ends up betting a pretty large size. A 7's still going to be kind of high in our range. Actually, let's just talk. We got some stuff to talk about here. So first off, let's conclude the top right hand. Oh shit. Just for a moment here, let's conclude the top right. So he had Jack 5, which is exactly why you don't want to block all of the cards that I mentioned. Bottom left goes check, check. I think on the river, both check, raise, and bet both have merit. I probably prefer just to go for a bet, because if you check, raise, you're going to get a bunch of action from 3x in general, which is not really ideal. Top left, yeah, either bet or check, both make sense. And table 4, we did check, call, turn. On this river, and we talked about this before, you want to have some leads and some check raises when you do have a 4. So when you do check on the river, let me rephrase that. You want to lead some trips and some bluffs. So maybe some hands like ace 5 could be a good bluff lead. Ace 5, ace 3, those kinds of hands could be good hands to decide to bluff lead the river, as well as 3 of a kind. But you definitely want to be checking a bunch of them as well, so you can check raise, and then also use some hands like 6 as a bluff check raise. A hand like ace 6 or 6-5 make the most sense as bluff check raises to me. Now, you're going to have a couple jacks, but in general, you're going to have ace high, a 7, or a 6 here. So folding your 6s, raising your best 6s, your 6s with the best removal, calling a 7, and calling your occasional jack makes the most sense. You're going to have to call almost half your range here. He's betting 85, 90% pot. So you can't really fold a 7 in this spot. Not good at the 10 of diamonds, obviously. Less bad because it is a delay spot. But again, this hand's just going to have to be a call. And there's going to be so much of that. Like, there's going to be so many hands where it's like, okay, this has to be a call. Because if your opponent bets pot or less, you have to call over half your hand, or you have to continue with over half your hands. So there's going to be a lot of that going on. So Jack 7, we decided to check the turn. Makes sense. 10-7 should call. I really hope that maybe I think the 10 of diamonds is just too bad of a card to have, but I don't really agree with that. Ugh. Knitting it up.